I just want to preface this review by saying I'm a big Nolan fan. What's up, everybody? Yeah, I'm back to talk about Interstellar, the newest film from Christopher Nolan, and it was co-written by his brother Jonathan Nolan, so it's a big deal. I mean, Jonathan Nolan also worked with him on Dark Knight Rises. I like Dark Knight Rises. I know it's kind of trendy right now to not like Nolan, and I mean, obviously Dark Knight Rises had some faults, but I really liked it. I liked most of his films. Let's get into Interstellar. I don't want to ramble too much about other stuff. Christopher Nolan's space movie, basically, and it's really cool. I really liked it. I wasn't mind-blown like I was expecting. For some reason, I expected to be mind-blown, and I don't know why people were really expecting that. You know, too much expectations on Nolan, but I wasn't mind-blown, but I really enjoyed the story. It's incredibly complex, but let's, you know, shorten it down a little bit. Basically, Matthew McConaughey is on the last manned mission to the planetary regions to find, you know, a planet habitable for human life, because it's a big movie and the stakes are nothing less than the fate of the human race, basically. Right there, the film's a little bit over the top already. In comparison to Gravity, Gravity was more about Sandra Bullock's survival, and her survival represented humans overcoming, you know, their difficulties or whatever. This is like a blockbuster film, so it is the fate of humanity, and there's a lot more spaceships and all kinds of cool frickin' special effects. So let's get into the bad things first, because I'm gonna go into the good things after. To think of it in one word is clunky. It's just, I don't know, at times I was really enjoying it. I was a little bit teary-eyed. At times I wanted to cheer, and at times I was like, what the hell? And then it would just pull me back. It was just like a love affair, sort of. I don't know if I like that at all. You know, at times, like I said, it was just about to lose me at points. I was just so predictable. From the first 5 minutes, you know kind of what's gonna go on with the big payoff at the end, of course. I don't wanna give a spoiler, but you know, the payoff is obvious what's gonna happen. It's like, you know, he's gonna do this drastically dramatic behavior because he's human, right? He's a renegade, he's Matthew McConaughey, and that, you know, is repeated over and over in the movie. You know, the spirit of human will to live, whatever. Besides that, it's a little bit convenient. I mean, it's a lot convenient, to tell you the truth. But you know what? It's like a cool story when people complain, oh, this is too dark, that's too dark. This isn't that dark. The stakes are high, but it's a space odyssey, you know what I mean? It's like Matthew McConaughey and Christopher Nolan, they did their little space odyssey. And one last thing, I know people were complaining about the last 30 minutes. I don't know if they're referring to the final parts where basically Nolan tried to represent like a three-dimensional representation of time, which is pretty complex to do. I love the way it looked. I don't know how it's going to play with the individual audience members. You know, it's a strange scene. It looks really cool, and it kind of ties into with some, you know, previous visuals we've seen in the movie. And, you know, this is something that's all theoretical, so to put it on film, I think is kind of hard. So you got to give them a little bit of slack because it looked beautiful. And the concept overall is incredibly far-fetched and over the top. But let's get into the good things. The first thing I really liked about this movie was that it asked questions. It's gonna make you wanna maybe read a book or ask questions. I think that's a good thing. I don't think that's bad at all. I mean, I kept seeing Carl Sagan in this movie. I've read a couple Carl Sagan books. I've read some other, you know, science books and crap. So I was following the story. It's a little bit, you know, herky-jerky, but it asked questions. You know, is it worth space travel when people are starving on Earth? Is it worth spending money on that crap? That's an important question. And that question is represented in here. You know, should man be the one that discovers the next planet we go on, or should a robot be the one? You know, obviously humans can improvise more, so, you know, we might need the human to risk their life to go out and find this stuff. And I think that was kind of cool. And the robots in this movie stole the show almost. At first I was like, oh my god, the robot. And I was just like, and you'll know what I'm saying if you've seen the film. And then as the film went on, the robots just played such an awesome part. They're basically like the fill-in characters you would have in a normal sci-fi movies, maybe like the soldier characters or something. And they look like complete boxes, which is awesome because he didn't go with the humanoid-looking robot. I mean, Christopher Nolan has to be appreciated for the art direction in this film. That's another thing. But the robots just come off as clunky at first, and as the film goes on, you see really how advanced they are and how human-like they are, and it's really cool. They become kind of like their own characters. And I just thought the robots were the coolest freaking thing because I hated it at first. And you know, it has an all-star cast. I didn't even read into this movie too much before I watched one trailer because I knew I was going to watch it. A million stars pop out in this movie. I mean, it's called Interstellar, haha. But literally, I was like, oh, he's in this? Oh, they're in this? And it was freaking cool. It was nice because it's great acting across the board. Each character kind of represents a viewpoint in humanity, sort of. And, you know, they're kind of given slightly equal time. Obviously, Nolan's pushing the science from the dialogue of the movie, and you can tell from the script that Nolan and them, they're big science guys. I didn't think it was heavy-handed at all, and I thought this is kind of like a nice blockbuster because it doesn't have the heavy-handedness of a film like Elysium where it's kind of being preachy, but it's asking the questions and it's providing a good story, and like I said, the visuals are awesome. I mean, I kept thinking of the shots, and a lot of it's akin to 2001, and you know, Nolan, going in, I was curious because he doesn't like supposedly CGI, and obviously in a film like this you're gonna have to use CGI if you want to get the complete look, and I thought he used it sparingly and it looked really awesome. It's one of those films you can actually say the CGI looked good at every scene as far as I can remember, at least a day and a half later. But yeah, that's one thing that was really impressive, and the planets look realistic that they land on, and the spaceships look pretty realistic, and I don't know, I was just feeling the love for sci-fi when I watched this movie, and I know Nolan loves sci-fi. If you watch this movie, you can tell, because it has literally everything from last year's Gravity, you know, represented, a touch of Star Wars at the end of the movie. You can't deny that it was a little bit like Star Wars. You know, obviously 2001, Contact, and like a massive, all the little sentences I had seen written about this movie prior were, you know, 2001, it's really more like Contact, and it just represents a lot of, at least what I've read about Carl Sagan. I really like the film. I think for some people, you know, they're gonna get kind of lost in the story because it's so complex, or they just might not buy the bullshit, you know, love story, you know, love conquers all type thing. And it was really love is, instead of saying a soul, kind of, that's how I took it. But you just gotta give him credit, I think, for just going so out there and trying to make like this really massive epic film. I'm gonna give it a 4.5 out of 5. At first I was thinking between 4 and 5, and I'm just gonna go with 4.5, and I can see why people didn't like it if you have a lower score. That's obvious. It was clunky. It was 2 hours and 45 minutes, and even that's long for me, but I thought it went by pretty quick. And like I said, a film since Dark Knight really hasn't got me going like that, and it's embarrassing to say this, but you know, one second I'm teary, and the next second I'm ready to stand up and cheer. But that's being a movie fan, you know. I think when a movie really talks to you, that's how it is. So 4.5 out of 5. Tell me your thoughts on Interstellar. I know I got a little rambly. I'm using this new camera. Give me your impressions down below. And I've been thinking about it for the last day and a half, and I think it was pretty freaking cool. That's all I'm going to say. See you guys soon.